Welcome, everyone, 6:03 to our August 7th meeting. Thank you, Selena and Dale and Teresa for being here. And do we have anybody on Zoom?
Just Kathleen.
Just Kathleen, okay. And Kathleen Walker's on Zoom. Let's go ahead and, we have any public comment that you know of? No? Okay. So we'll go to the meeting minutes from our,
Well, first is
July.
April 17, which could not be approved last time because we
Right.
didn't have a forum. So April 17 is the
right. Did anyone have any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes for April 17th? Okay.
I move that they be approved.
Thank you. The second? Second. Great, thank you. Second. And I'm just going to ask for any opposition. Okay, so moved. And then we
And then
have,
there was a no quorum unofficial set of minutes. Do we actually have to approve those? I guess because there was discussion.
I think it's worthwhile.
Mhm. Yeah, that was from, yeah, the 23rd, right? And then the unofficial meeting on Tuesday, April 23rd, we did not have a quorum. And any comments or additions on that? Set of minutes, okay. And do you want to just do a repeat?
I move that we approve the
April 23rd.
April 23rd, 2024 minutes of the unofficial no quorum meeting.
Okay, seconded by Teresa. And any opposition to that? Okay, so moved. And the agenda, do we want to give the agenda? Sure. Any additions to the, Kathleen, any additions to the agenda for tonight's meeting? Okay, great. Just wait until she comes in and put you on the spot, Teresa. Just give you a little heads up,
Okay. For what?
just to
Hello?
introduce,
Okay,
yeah, and just to say hello and,
Just pulling up the agenda for the meeting.
yeah, great.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hey, Kathleen.
Happy to do that.
All right.
In person, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just take a couple moments and have introduction of our newest board member. Thank you. Teresa Peltier, that's what I would pronounce, yeah.
Correct.
Our Hoodland representative, one of our Hoodland representatives, and you just around, you know, Sarah. Yeah, I'm Heather Miche, I'm the current board chair.
Kathleen Drain.
I'm Kathleen Walker. I'm a city council. I'm the liaison for the city council.
Dale Hoff, I'm with the Friends of Sandy Library.
So if you'd like to just add anything, Teresa, just love your enthusiasm from our interviews and time that we chatted and yeah, anything you'd like to add as far as being on the board?
Yeah. I've lived in the area for 9 years now. So my husband and I relocated from Western New York State where we grew up and lived until then. Libraries have been a huge part of my life. It was something that my family enjoyed all through my childhood. I worked in the library in college and yeah, it's just been something that we've really enjoyed. When we moved to Welch's, we were like, okay, we're headed to the sticks and we don't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't a library right across the street and then within walking distance of where we lived. And so I just think that's like really incredible and something I brag about to my friends and family everywhere. We're all over the country and all over the world. So I love opportunities to also volunteer in the community. Currently fun employed, as I call it, because I am going back to grad school. So I am going to become a school counselor. So that's just started. I'm going to OSU through a hybrid program. And in the meantime, yeah, I know Lynn through multiple alleys of life. And she suggested that I apply. So here I am.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Appreciate it.
I would like to do a shout out to Teresa for the extraordinary statement she made down at the Board of County Commissioners
Oh,
in
great.
favor of the Hoodland Dredge. It was so positive and so ebullient that it made a definite impact.
Awesome.
Happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think we can move into new business and talk about the new strategic plan.
So I attached the previous Sandy and Hoodland Library Strategic Plan. I don't know if you got a chance to read through it. We had to update it because of the pandemic. We extended it for 2 years. And I haven't had a chance to go in and do the final updates on the on where we were with each of the priorities. So hopefully at the next meeting, I can attach those and we can just look them over and you can see where we ended up. From the last update, we had reached a lot of the goals that we wanted to, so that was exciting. I'm not sure that we managed to reach the last couple. They were a little stretch, and we knew they would be, so trying to work with the school district and all of those kinds of things, which is always difficult, and especially after the pandemic was difficult to get into the schools and things like that. They're still sort of protective, which makes sense. So we want our kids to learn and grow and not be confronted with outsiders too much, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'll give you all of those updates at the next meeting. But just to go over, we had 7 goals, and they were create young readers, so an early literacy goal, stimulate imagination, so reading, viewing, and listening for pleasure. Satisfy curiosity, so that was about programming, lifelong learning. Understand how to find, evaluate, and use information, so information fluency or information literacy. Learn to read and write, and so that was about adult, teen, and family literacy. So all of our ESOL classes and our reading tutoring fall within that one. Be an informed citizen, so local, national, and world affairs. So that one was about civic engagement and connect to the online world, so public internet access. Those were our goals that we set up. So I wanted to compare that to the new Link strategic plan that is just starting this year, and I attached that as well. And the Link strategic plan is really based on trying to go out, the library director's goals with this plan was to really try to get we need a new funding rate. And so all of these things were things on our plate, but we couched them in such a way that the imperatives, so let's see.
Sorry, sir, are you working with the 2019 one or the current one?
I thought I attached the current one.
You did.
I
It's further-
didn't.
It's further along.
Yes, it is further along.
It's in there.
Is it in there?
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Well,
I was
that's
just
good.
wondering what we should be looking
Yeah,
at.
no,
Yeah.
Well, that's the tactical plan that was attached further along. So, but I didn't attach, yeah, you're right. I didn't attach the most current copy of the Link strategic plan.
Oh, okay.
That the tactical plan is there, and the mission statement and the core values. So
Street Link 2024 to 2027 strategic and tactical. Is that what you're looking at? It's got the green
oh, it has both of them in there. Thank you.
and so that's for the whole link and not for Sandy, right?
This is for the all of Link. So we came up with 3 main imperatives. The first one was listen to our communities. So doing a lot of surveying and getting some feedback from focus groups or just talking to people one-on-one. And then adapting to community needs based on the feedback we got. And then telling our story. So, and those are the three main parts of the Link strategic plan. And then within that, we have a number of initiatives and a number of tactics. And then tasks to go with those tactics. And the library directors have even gone further than that and assign a director for each of the tasks. To be the champion for that task, to work with the group that would be working on it, because this is gonna take all of the staff in Link. So at every library. And we have a number of committees who will be doing work, and we'll be creating some new committees to do work. For example, to gather the data, we need to create a data subcommittee of a group that has the expertise in how to write survey questions, how to gather the data and get good data for us. So that's one group that we are going to create.
What's your timetable on that?
So our goal is in the first year to do the listen to our communities, and in the second year to do adapt to community needs, and then in the third year to tell our story. Of course, all of them will sort of be ongoing, and a lot of them will start, like a lot of the adapt to community needs, things that we already know, like eliminate overdue fines. We've already been working on that for a long time. We've already reduced our fines from 25 cents to 10 cents a day for most libraries in Link, and we're hoping within the next budget cycle, which is not right now, but next July, that we will be going fine free. So
Does that include like if you need to replace a book that you haven't returned?
no,
Okay.
no. So if a book's lost, those charges still stay. And that is just being good stewards of taxpayer money, right? We buy books with taxpayer money. We need to get reimbursed for those things that are truly lost. But overdue fines are just sort of assessed as an idea. And they create barriers for lots of people.
Thank you.
Yes,
Question.
yes.
So on the number 3 goal, share our story. The second one talks about the build support for and pass the successor library district. Has that been, I guess for lack of a better word, bought into by all the city councils that it would be
Which one are you talking about?
3.2?
3.2?
Page 3.
I mean, that is where the library directors know that we need to head. I'm sure not every city council understands that at this point. I think ours sort of does, because every year when we have the budget committee meetings, I talk about how Sandy is getting more and more difficult to create the budget, right? So I think our city council is closer, although we have new counselors who maybe don't.
Right. And I think the struggle that, that I see is that, we've got such high utility rates coming online, and we've got, some other priorities that are in the mix too.
Right.
I just kind of heard, but I don't know if this is accurate. That's why I'm asking the question. Obviously, it's something that I could support, given kind of a certain timeline. But I'm just curious, what I had heard was that the other city managers weren't so supportive of going out for another ask. And so that's where I feel like if we're not working together with common goals.
Which is why we need to do year 1, year 2, and this would be in year 3 of gaining that support in year 3, after we listen to our communities, respond to the communities, and as we're telling our story,
And get
that
the data.
would be part of telling the story after we have all of the data and after we've made some additional changes.
Yeah, I kind of would, say that there's a need to kind of get more buy-in earlier on in the process. For the city councils that are, I think they need to be on an, what do you call that? Advanced schedule as far as that, because all these other things are so great. And I mean, I guess if there's, if you get to that point in year 3, that's when you're going to find out. And
maybe we won't be successful.
right,
But we that we see this as an iterative process. So year 1, 2, 3, and then year 1 would start over again. So we would, so then we would have the chance, 6 years down the road of possibly gaining that support after.
I think it'd be helpful to kind of start now with the city councils because it's going to take that long
Yeah.
to get them on board.
And I think most library directors are doing that.
Yeah.
Are trying to.
And it's a two-way conversation about, the library directors need to understand what all else is they're competing with. Because, as library directors, of course, that's the main, most important thing that we do as a city
Mhm.
and a county. So
Right.
I totally get that and support that, but I'm also aware of other things that everybody's got.
Could I ask Kathleen, how would you suggest that go forward? Separate and apart from obviously the budgeting process, which is very much a part of that education, right? Is when one sees the challenges. But beyond that, how would you suggest going to the city councils?
I think it's just kind of, starting to talk about the existing situation. I don't want to take up the time. I mean, I don't want, one of the things that I think is, well, it's a different topic, but it's the whole, it's the role that the LDAC plays with the formula, the funding formula. And, but then, just trying to kind of educate the people, because as a city councilor, I got way into the weeds on understanding how everything's funded and where the money comes from and who all it has to serve and all that and the priorities. Most of the other councilors that, get
Right, don't
rotated,
know
they're
that.
all volunteering and they don't necessarily read all the packets that you give them. So, it's just kind of, I don't exactly know the answer to your question, but I think that it takes a lot of time to kind of, you kind of eat the elephant a bite at a time. And if you wait till 3 years, third year to start eating the elephant, you're probably going to get some pushback unless you want to implement it in another 2 years after that. But I just feel like it's something that's going to take some time. And I think the LDAC and the library directors are a key part of figuring that out and what the ask is. And then also just do like that two-way of kind of understanding what, why there might not be complete consensus support for it. And how do we kind of work together to find common ground and, that kind of thing. So.
No.
Right.
So basically keep asking for it to be workshopped as we did at the one of the former council meetings,
Right.
which was rejected and said they did not want to workshop learning more about it. So that's,
It was a kind of a timing thing. Yeah.
we'll see. Just keep digging at it, I think.
So in regards to the committees you mentioned, who constitutes the committees and are you looking for this group to participate in the committees?
So the committees are staff
Gotcha.
within Link.
Okay.
And so like there is an adult services committee, a teen services committee, a children's services committee, a circulation committee, an equity committee, an innovation committee, innovation and marketing. And then the library directors, of course, are our own committee group. So those are the main committees that we have within Link that will be working on these things. But I would think that at some point, we will need volunteers to help us gather data or lead focus groups or those kinds of things. So within each individual library, there will be opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, where do you want us to go with this?
So I wanted to ask the group if they felt like we still needed to do a strategic plan for the Sandy and Woodland libraries, or if we should adopt the Link strategic plan for the next 3 years. I'm not sure because we will be doing a lot of work on this,
Yeah.
of course. And some of that work would be happening anyway. But a lot of it will be additional work for the staff that I have. So
What two goals did we fall short on from the prior strategic?
the civic and a little bit on the internet.
Yeah, the connectivity.
Yes.
I met some of those.
We did.
points though.
Yes, we
Right.
did. Did meet some of the points. But those were the two that we mostly fell short in. And
So
those,
do you, go ahead.
um, there was also the information fluency, where we had, have every fifth grader. And we just didn't get into the classrooms to get the fifth graders and so some of those. So it was just a few little parts of a few of them.
Okay.
So in general, I feel like we did a really good job of meeting most of the goals.
What are the other libraries doing? Are they creating fully separate strategic plans or are they using this as?
Well, they're mostly in the middle of this strategic plan.
I see.
I know that Milwaukee just created a strategic plan, but they were already sort of in the process before this one was adopted by Link as a whole. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is coming up for us because this June was the end of our strategic plan. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the only issue I have is that this doesn't give us any goalposts to aim for, unlike what you had done, in the prior iteration
Right.
of the strategic plan. So perhaps this could be the outline, but bearing in mind that some goalposts need to be established to aim for on specific types of activities that perhaps the staff could identify, Sandy and Hoodland staff could identify as the shortfalls that they see
Right.
at the moment that need to be stressed. That's the only thing that I see as a difference between the prior edition and, what you
Very
have here.
detailed.
It really
Yeah.
was. It was.
We worked hard on it.
Yeah.
it-
Yeah.
Well, your first, the Link one, listen to our communities. So my question is, you've got plans for a lot of surveys. Is that going to, everybody rolling their own on developing a survey, or are you going to have one survey for everybody?
One survey for the.
And then they'll be able to kind of tease out what the Hoodland, Sandy folks think.
Right. Each library's results will be separate.
Okay.
And that's part of our goal is identifying then libraries that have similar results so that they can work together on those tasks, right?
But like you said, I mean, it would be helpful to kind of look at our plan and just, like you were talking about doing is kind of how, what we accomplished, what did we miss, what we still did have to do, but like your, the internet stuff or, the bookmobile Target thing, that was nice. I'm looking at, get out of our buildings and into our communities by providing link-wide outreach to underserved populations. The bookmobile goal, so kind of taking these, but kind of making them specific, like you said, Kathleen, the goal, kind of more specific, get on a particular football field for Sandy and make them a little bit more,
Could certainly do something like that.
but it would tie into the overall goal, just be specific for Sandy.
Yeah. There is a consultant through the state library or a state library employee for Oregon that helps libraries do strategic plans. I could chat with her, and that's at no cost to us, because she's already a state employee who is funded. And so I could chat with her to see if she would be willing to come and help us take the Link strategic plan and turn it into
Do the tactical side
Yeah.
for
Sandy and Hoodland. Yeah.
Well, and even looking at our former strategic plan and comparing it with the results that we got of reaching those goals and so on. And also at this point in time, saying which of these or new goals do we have that we maybe want to highlight to flesh out with detailed goalposts and because it may not be all of them,
Right.
right? Maybe the civics piece, maybe we just
Drop it.
drop it.
Yeah.
And since it is so difficult, seems to be almost impossible to get into the schools in so many different ways that that's something we just also
Yeah.
not let go of completely, but keep trying, but not
Right.
put a
Well,
lot of.
in a way, I had a great meeting with the school district about the outreach vehicle, and they were very excited to have it come to the schools. So that would be a great foothold into the schools. And we talked about parking at a school from like the first recess until after the end of the day, so that we could get all the kids who were coming on recess, and we can get certain grades could come out and do STEM activities with us. And then parents could actually come into the bookmobile with their kids after school to check out materials. So we've already had that meeting, so I think that's a great foothold into the schools in a way that they can easily feel good about, right?
My understanding from the schools is they are finally this year feeling post-COVID,
Okay.
like, and so this would be a good time to re-engage them because
Right.
they're feeling like they have their footing right in. That's my understanding how the
Yeah.
schools are feeling.
Yeah.
Are the school librarians kind of your partner in helping, be the ones who are in the school to kind of help?
Unfortunately, there are only
my
a few
question.
school librarians for all of the schools that we have.
Because the high school doesn't have a library, does it?
They do.
They do.
They do. They have a librarian in the high school. And I think my understanding is there's one that floats around the middle schools.
And elementary, I believe.
Yeah. So, but we do work with those people quite a bit.
Good news.
Yeah,
Really good news.
Yeah.
I love that idea of taking it after school is out so that the parents can be engaged and, use the service.
right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of
Really
parents
good.
probably feel like they don't have time to come to the
Right.
library after
Right.
they pick their kids up from school, but if the library is right there, so they're like, oh, we can just pop in for 20 minutes or,
Yeah.
Has there been any surveys or poll out there asking parents what their likelihood of engagement in that would be?
No, we haven't done any of the work with the community yet because we haven't ordered a bookmobile or an outreach vehicle yet. And we started the process of getting organizations excited about it and writing us letters, and then found out we couldn't apply for grants. So,
Can we add that item onto the agenda of old business? Because I do want to hear it a little bit more.
I was gonna do an update and the staff updates, but we can do it now if you want.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
It's a good time because it's
Yeah.
related to
Yeah,
that.
it is related to this. So on August 19th, Counselor Walker, I am going to be coming to City Council to ask City Council whether they want to authorize the purchase of a bookmobile now, not having secured all the funding, or if they want to wait until after the next budget process and try to assign more money.
Okay, I got to hear more about the grant because
So we have
who gets grants all the time? I'm
Right. There are,
can't-
there are 3 or 4 different grants that we can apply for. The most grant money that is available is $50,000. So there are 2 grants that we could possibly get $50,000 out of. The LSTA grant through the state library and then the Roundhouse Foundation, I believe.
And is that 50 from each or
50
50
from
total?
50 from each, if we
Okay.
were successful in getting the maximum amount. And then the Ford Foundation has a grant, and they have a $50,000 grant, but when I talked to her, she said that they would not award it for a vehicle. So they have a $25,000 grant, that we could possibly get for a vehicle. And then we would need to do some community fundraising possibly. There's one other grant that I haven't looked into enough to know if it's a fit.
okay, so the LST and what's the other?
LSTA,
LST?
Library Services and Technology.
Huh?
And then the Roundhouse Foundation.
And both of those could give you 50 each.
Yeah.
What was the total budget?
So the price has gone up since I last checked.
Continues. to go
Yeah,
up
yeah.
the longer we wait.
Yes, so in last October, it was $295,000. And I just asked, yesterday or the day before, Monday or Tuesday this week, I just wrote to the company and asked what the current price was, and they told me 310.
Does that include the books or is it just literally the vehicle?
No, that's just a vehicle.
Is that fitted out?
That is fitted out.
Okay.
So with the Ford Foundation, who has boodles of money, I can see, if Ant Farm was getting a van to, haul the trail crew around or something like that, I could see that being a $25,000 limit. But we gotta stock this with computers, so we're not really spending it on a vehicle, or, you could go after the money for all non-vehicle components, right?
Well, sure, but so, half of the vehicle is non-vehicle components. To fit it out is the other half, right? The vehicle itself, when I first asked, and I didn't ask him to split out the costs, and maybe I should have, I could do that. And I probably should before the city council meeting. Thank you for asking your questions, so I can get ready. It was $160,000 for just the vehicle. And then to fit it out was the remainder of the 295.
Right, but if we have, if the city covers the 160 for the vehicle.
Right.
Go after the fitting it out. You might be able to get a Ford grant.
Right.
Station.
Although the Ford Foundation and Roundhouse both told me that we needed to do community fundraising efforts. That just having the city money didn't show enough community support for their needs.
And I think that's really important because, I'm just hate to be a broken record here, but the city money is only getting, is coming from 12,000 people.
Mhm.
And district, where you're gonna go take this thing is 36,000. So those other 24,000 people should be throwing some money at this or grant. I mean, either way, but it shouldn't all be on 12,000 taxpayers of the city to make this happen. Is my,
Right,
and of course I support it completely, but
right.
I would also be pushing, with the Ford. And, I think it would help if, the city council was to kind of push on the Ford Foundation a little bit more to kind of acknowledge that we'll cover the vehicle, but we need this other part.
Right.
Sarah, you said to me, I think, one other time, that the library itself couldn't be the fundraising entity, that it couldn't do outreach of its own.
For its own purpose.
Well, it's a little uncomfortable because, so when I talked to Tyler, the city manager, about the situation, his feeling is that the library gets dedicated funds through the taxpayers already. And those are unincorporated folks who are paying into the library funds and city folks, right?
Right.
And that because of that, going out and doing fundraising put us in an uncomfortable position.
I would probably push back against that and say, first of all, as we all know, the money that we come from the district isn't enough, number one, but number two is supposed to only be for services.
Right.
And what we're talking about here is not in the budget for that. We'd have to cut our services in order to make that happen. And the park department goes around and has these, community fundraisers and things like that for the Norwood or Tupper Park and,
The Parks Department doesn't have permanent tax funding. They get general funds from the city, but the city could decide not to give them any funds. And they would have to try to live on the income that they already made on their classes and all of those kinds of things. They already take money in for their funds.
right.
So it's a little bit different. And I'm sure these were very preliminary discussions I had with Tyler. And I think he could be convinced.
And then you also have the Friends of the Library.
I was gonna ask, what's the role of Friends of the Library then? I'm sorry to be provocative. but-
I went to a friends meeting and made a pitch to them, but I haven't heard anything back.
Well, the whole idea of the bus was kind of a wash. There were a couple that really supported it, and there were more that didn't. We go and do fundraising, but we're all getting kind of old. So we don't fundraise as much as we used to. But in reference to your thing about citizens supporting the library, when we did the computer fund drive, consistently heard but I pay taxes. I want my taxes to pay for this.
Right.
Trying to explain to the individuals that, yes, but they weren't able to get enough money to keep up with the computers, keep them up to date. That's why we're doing a one-time fundraiser to bring the computers up to date.
Right.
And
The
that's,
same could be said for the outreach vehicle. I mean, 310,000 is not within the library's budget.
right.
There's no way we could purchase it without eliminating staffing and hours and things like that to make it happen. So,
But I think if we got, you've got 150, right?
yep,
From the city. And, if you were to get, the 50 and the 50 from Roundhouse and LSTA. And then, whatever we can get out of Ford,
right,
maybe another 50, that's your other 150. And then if you need another 10,000 or whatever, be a little bit more.
right,
And for the city to make up the total,
mhm,
that would seem,
right,
I feel like we should be kind of
right.
pushing these grants because, is there any limitation on these grants that we couldn't go get them? Because I remember there was something about they wanted us to, something about buying the vehicle first or,
So so all of the grantees,
Uh-huh.
I talked to them, said that we would need to receive the vehicle in the year that we applied for the grant. So there is no way to apply for the grant and wait to purchase the vehicle until we know if we get the grant. Because it takes 18 to 24 months to get the vehicle. So, and most grant cycles are 1 year.
It's really awkward, isn't it?
It is awkward.
Uh,
is, is
So that's
not another bookmobile option that doesn't take that long?
No, all of them take that long to get currently, is my understanding. And the option we're choosing is the only, other than the very, very large vehicles, which we're not that interested in driving around. And, they're with gas and all of those things. I was hoping for an electric vehicle, but they're not ready for bookmobiles yet. Just because of the weight of the books and everything that's in the vehicle, it's too much for the batteries. Because the batteries also have a lot of weight, so those vehicles, they're still working on the technology to try to get it to the point where an electric vehicle really works as a bookmobile.
What's the option of, is there a non-electric? option?
Right, and so
Batteries don't
that's what I'm saying, the very large vehicles. So the only vehicles that are less expensive than the one that so Rebecca and I went to the outreach conference. Rebecca is my teen librarian. So the two of us went to the Bookmobile and Outreach Conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And went on a lot of different vehicles, right? And the ones that were less expensive are like, I don't know if you've seen Estacada's bookmobile or Malala's bookmobile, but they are truly just materials and they're vans. So they're quite narrow and they're dark inside, right?
Like going in a truck full of books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very narrow truck full of books. And so the vehicle that we are looking at is wider. It's like the size of the small buses that we have in the city. That like the community center uses for trips and things like that. There's windows on all sides. It has a manual ramp that pushes out the door rather than taking up space in the vehicle with a pneumatic lift. It's only about $50,000 more than those narrow trucks that all you can do is take materials around. So our goal is to put desks in it, right? And do STEM activities in the schools and take computers and do computer classes in the community for people who need those things.
But with the ongoing costs of operation, the maintenance and whatever, that would come out of the normal budget.
Yes,
So your issue is the acquisition cost.
yes.
Well, I have to say, as an unincorporated person, it would not offend me to have a thermometer in the foyer. Saying we have a special project, trying to get outreach to the farthest parts of our district. Will you help us?
Mhm.
I don't find that offensive at all, and I think you might be surprised.
Yeah.
What are the options? And I hate to say this, but what about, so what I heard you say was the grant, you would have to apply for the grant in the same year that you got the.
Order it.
But no, that we received the vehicle.
Oh, we receive it.
Yeah, so we'd have to order it now without having secured all of the funding. And then apply for grants later and hope to get some of them.
Are you honestly, you have to pay up front?
But we don't have to pay we can pay for just the vehicle
Okay,
and then do the upfitting as a separate.
okay.
So,
Okay, so we could, so you could conceivably outfit it in the same year that you receive it, pay for the outfitting, and
yeah,
so that's a. Oh, okay. Option.
yes, yes.
Is there a percentage or a number that you need be raised from the community for the other grants to kick in?
I mean,
Hmm.
it depends on if we're successful with our grant funding or not.
No,
If we were,
Do they have a
Do they-
requirement?
Oh.
people have,
the grant people just say we need to have some community fundraising efforts. They didn't give me a target. They didn't say
Yes,
10%.
half of it doesn't,
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for them.
that's the community. Very limited part of the community, I might add, but, you know.
Yeah,
you do need some from the community, but there's no definite.
there's no definite number.
Amount.
I could,
Potential there, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
To go after the grants and,
and then do some, once we order and that's what I'm just waiting on. Once we need to order the vehicle.
Right.
So that we know it's coming and then we can get ready to apply for the grants and we can start the community fundraising efforts and, you know,
And before the price goes up again.
yeah.
Right.
And I already have the letter. Well, no, I know.
Yeah.
That's part of it. I mean, from October to July.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
15 grand.
yeah,
well, and these, you know, the concern I would have also, given this, so 2 years out, is these things, these businesses seem to go out of business. You
well,
know?
these businesses, the bookmobile, the three main bookmobile companies have been around forever. So, I mean,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, I don't think they're going anywhere, but yeah. And libraries still need vehicles to take out. And I think they're getting more popular because
Mhm.
of trying to do those outreach efforts to get to people where they are rather than making people come into the library to use it.
And also as brick and mortar becomes harder for, I'm sure, some really small communities to even be able to maintain them.
Mhm.
Now, once we secure the vehicle, get it all outfitted, is the amount it will take to maintain it with staff even an issue at all?
To maintain the vehicle itself, I don't think is an issue. It's, when I did an estimate and don't quote me on it, but it was a very reasonable amount of money to buy the gas and do the oil changes and all of those things for a year.
And the transit department was gonna take
Yeah.
the lead on that, because they do all their buses, you know.
Right.
That's kind of.
So, so we already have a resource
In-house.
for where we can, well, they're not in-house people, but we know where we can take the vehicle to get it, the oil changes and things like that, yeah. And the transit department has already told me we can have a contract so that they can wash the vehicle for us and keep it in their bus barn and all of those kinds of things. So we've got the maintenance is easy. And then staffing the vehicle, it could be challenging with our current staff. We do have, because of retirements and things like that, we've got a few more bodies on staff. So that's good news for us. And, you know, I've already told the staff, once we have a vehicle, everybody is gonna be trained to drive it. Everybody will have to be able to take it out so that if somebody calls in sick or is on vacation, we have plenty of people who can go out.
Yeah.
But we have, you know, we have people who are experts in doing the STEM activities and that person would go on the day we were doing STEM activities in the school. We have experts on teaching computer classes and that person would go when we're teaching computer classes. So, you know, it would be a rotation of staff. So I'm hoping to take the bookmobile out 3 to 5 days a week once we have it. So
Yeah.
so we would be down and we've already talked about having the second staff person be a volunteer. And I know a number of people in the community who were super excited when I brought that up. They're like, I would love to volunteer to go out on the bookmobile. So, you know, so that we are only down one staff person each day.
And it wouldn't necessarily be an entire shift either.
Right, it could just be 4 or 5 hours. It could be, yeah.
Could it be the Hoodland staff also?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Although, if we have a Hoodland staff member go out, we have to backfill them because
Yeah.
Hoodland only has 2 people at any given time. So, and
Um, back to, you have to get the bus first.
yes.
And the city's going to put up how much?
150,000. It's already in my budget. It was moved into my budget when the budget committee awarded it to me.
Okay, and how much do you need?
So 210 currently.
210, okay.
Wouldn't it only be
No,
15
no.
for purchase of the vehicle?
No.
Like initially and then.
Oh, no, not 210, sorry. So it's 310 total, so 160.
Right, but how much do you have to put up to start the process?
150, right?
160 was what it cost initially, and I don't know how much just the vehicle costs now.
Okay.
It could be the vehicle has gone up, or it could be that the
Mm.
outfitting has gone up, and I'm not sure which one it is.
But we could, I'm sure probably cover the,
I think I can cover it out of my budget. $30,000 I can figure out. It's just $160,000 that is more difficult.
But again, $50,000 grants would be 150 and.
Right,
Or, I mean, if we get less than, trying to get, like you were talking about a goal for the community fundraising, that might be $10,000 or $20,000 or something like that.
well, the Friends of the Library managed to gather $36,000 for our computers.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's sort of my community fundraising goal for the bookmobile, right?
Okay. I'll pass the word on.
Yeah.
Would that be happening in? Would that be 2026?
Well, if on August 19th, when I go to city council, if city council authorizes me to purchase the vehicle, then it would be, so the vehicle, if I purchased it August 20th, say, called the next day and said, put us on the list. We're gonna send you $160,000 or whatever it costs for the vehicle, and we'll give you the rest at the end. It would be 2 years from now that it would arrive. So, yeah, August 2026.
So second half of 2026.
Yeah.
Is the next financial date.
Yeah,
So in 2026 is when we would need to get the grant money.
yes.
Well, wait,
And that gives us a little, that gives us this time and, for raising community money and all.
oh, we could, oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
It's gonna
Sonia.
be, like the latter half of 2025, since it needs to be in the same, does that have to be the same year, like 2025, or can it be this 12 months?
Oh, I see, you're saying calendar year versus.
Calendar year versus.
Well, it's 2 years from the date that you order it, that it will arrive.
No, I mean,
For the grant perspective. Yes, we could apply in maybe fall of 2024, no, 2025.
Yeah.
To receive it in 2026, possibly.
And are all three of those grant sources the same rules about the same year?
They, the LSTA is on a very specific timeline, but the Ford Foundation and the Roundhouse Foundation are both open grants. You can apply at any time.
All right. So we got more flexibility.
Right.
So those two we could apply in September of this year.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to know how much,
Wouldn't have it in the same year.
that's what I'm asking is with the Ford and the Roundhouse folks, if we applied, like by December,
Of next year.
but said that we were buying it, that we're buying it now with, and
The delivery being next day.
Right.
with the
Yeah.
delivery date in 2026, will they give us the money or is it a reimbursement grant or what?
I think it's their reimbursement.
Let's sit down and you and me in prep, let's just have a little meeting between now and the 19th so we can kind of put some of this stuff together. Because those are the kind of questions I'd be asking and
Yes.
I'm sure everybody else. If I
Everybody else wants the answers too. Yeah.
Because if you've already agreed and indeed paid a portion of the full fees needed for the outfitted van or bus, you have to have it actually delivered before you can
It has to be
receive the money?
delivered within the same year that we apply for the grant,
But is that standard for all three grants or just one?
all three of them.
That's what I was asking. Because I thought you said there was no timeline on the
Well,
four.
there are no, they don't have a date when grants are due.
Okay.
You can apply for the grants at any time, is what I mean by there's no timeline. But we have to apply within the year that we're gonna receive the vehicle. So,
You have to work out a
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, timeline.
timeline.
right,
You know, if you buy on X date, then
Yeah.
you know, what are your miles?
there are deadlines for our grants and things, because we'll set our own deadlines for those two grants.
Yeah, let's meet
Mhm.
for about an hour to kind of go through some of that. And I'll look online and look at some more stuff. I have.
Good. Thank you, Kathy. Okay.
So we had sort of a suggestion for what to do with the strategic plan, but we didn't do a vote.
Well, my suggestion is first that at the next meeting, you present your tabulation
Mhm,
of the prior
mhm.
successes.
Okay,
And then my suggestion is that we wait to see when we've got the full group together to see how they would like to see the next strategic plan constructed. But it seems that we did have a consensus that we can work from the link one, but then
Flush out.
make it specific to Sandy and Hoodland. And in the intervening month, you could talk to the strategic planner at the state. Does that sound like do you want to?
would you like to make a motion?
Well, that was wordy. I would move that at the next meeting, the board consider specifically how to flesh out the link plan to customize it to Sandy and Hoodland.
Well, I feel like that would be what the consultant from the state library could help us with.
So you'd like to add that? So amended.
No, I wasn't thinking to add it. I was thinking that maybe your motion should be at the next meeting, we'll review the progress we made in the Sandy and Hoodland strategic plan
Prior.
that ended in June.
Okay.
And then the board would consider how they wanted to move forward with the Sandy and Hoodland, a new Sandy and Hoodland strategic plan. Is that?
I accept that, so moved.
I'll second that.
And then after that point, if you decide that you want to flesh out the link strategic plan, then I would contact the person at the state library and get
Gotcha.
that ball rolling.
Okay, so
Okay.
you got a second? We can,
Okay, all in favor of this motion regarding the new strategic plan?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, so moved, passed. All right. Old business.
okay, I've been elected to do these
Yeah,
two.
thank you. Thank you for taking one.
On the Hoodland rent update, I'm actually having to think back to when we last met, and that was before we had been invited to make the presentation to the Board of County Commissioners with Councilwoman Walker. We met Commissioner West up at the Hoodland Library to give him an opportunity to see the building and to talk with him about our concerns regarding the rent. And then we had the presentation that was made by myself, Lynn Pollard, Teresa, and Jerry McMahon to the board, and it provoked actually a lengthy discussion, almost an hour, which was, it was unusual, not only specifically about Hoodland, but about the library district in general and what we were highlighting might be needs of the district in the future as well. And as part of that session, we got no activity on the Hoodland rent issue per se. Commissioner Schul is still working on the matter. I've run into him at events, and even today, he said that he is still has the intent to continue with his motion asking for $25,000 of assistance per year over 5 years. But there has not been any official position on this. But that June session led to the Board of County Commissioners asking for more education on the district itself. And
You mean the Hoodland district or the?
no, on the entire library district. Yes, no, yeah, Hoodland is actually a service area, not a district. They were asking questions about the totality and issues that have been raised by LDAC in the past. And there was a session yesterday and a session today. Now, those sessions ended up being devoted to a proposed amendment to the intergovernmental agreement that LDAC at the last session voted not to accept. And that was on the 29th. It was raised yesterday and today. The result, which frankly, we have to see in writing to understand fully, is that the IGA amendment that was proposed, which sought to add facilities expenditures as a permissible cost under the intergovernmental agreement, is held in abeyance pending a discussion group to air and put on the table all the pending problems with the district, so that when something is done to the IGA, it wraps up and cleans up the pending matters. This all happened today. Before we were scheduled to watch the policy session, it was over with. And so we're watching video now to try to fully understand what happened. But what was proposed by Commissioner Savas. It has the support of the county administrator, and Commissioner Schul was in favor of it, and Commissioner Schrader voted for it as well. But there was some, just to put it bluntly, some pushing and shoving along the way between the 2 days. But we'll just have to watch the video again to fully understand where we're going and how the county administrator will carry out the mandate that he got. But so on Hoodland Rec, we still do not have an up or a down. We have Commissioner Schultz still seeking to promote the motion that he had made.
So in summary, the idea is to create a focus group within all of the different libraries that will gather together to talk about the issues in the library district and find some solutions that then they would bring back to the county commissioners, the LDAC and the county commissioners. This is the same idea that the task force that was started right before the pandemic happened, long before you were involved, Selena and Teresa. there was originally a task force that was created, which would look at governance of the library district, services of the library district, and funding. And there were going to be 3 separate committees with all kinds of people from all the libraries. And we had one meeting with about 200 people in a room. And since then,
And
I
COVID
think-
shut everything down.
yeah, and then COVID shut everything down. And since then, everybody who was involved in those meetings thinks it would be too unwieldy to have that huge, even though we would break up into smaller pieces, it was just a large group of people to try to get consensus on everything. And
Well,
so this
also
smaller
asking-
focus group,
But a lot of
It's-
commitment
Right.
by a lot of people. It was,
it was a
it
three,
was asking for too much.
yeah, it was asking for a 3-year process to get through these things.
So what Commissioner Savis is proposing is effectively using almost like a focus group concept to distill the issues and then have an educational session with the Board of Commissioners to see how the IGA could be modified to solve the pending issues. I don't know what timetable they think this is happening on. And obviously, the election will make a difference. Because at least, but are there 3 seats are up, right? I think, Kathleen, I think we have 3 seats up at the BCC. So
So,
Scholl,
Schrader,
Smith, and
Smith.
Schrader.
although
No, actually,
Schrader's in,
That's right, Schrader.
and Tootie and,
Schrader succeeded, so we have 2 seats that are still pending the November election, which could alter how this issue gets looked at. So basically, it's stay tuned.
Yeah.
Which time does Hoodland have?
Well, the issue at Hoodland is that having to pay rent means that 8% of its budget is not available for services hours.
Programs, collection.
But it can pay it. It's just that every year as each fiscal cycle goes by, the pressure on the budget increases, but approximately 8% is currently allocated to rent, and that's the 25,000. And so the request was that the county pay for it out of the general fund to take care of the unincorporated area, the same way it had taken care of other unincorporated areas.
Because no other library is paying rent.
one library pays $1, yeah, but the rent.
Mhm.
But what it is other libraries like our library, the city of Sandy covers the mortgage bond payment. About $45,000 a year, $90,000 every 2 years for all out of just city of Sandy money. Not, so no, the other 2/3 don't pay for this building, even though
Which they don't own.
Huh?
Which they don't own.
But they use it. And so
Yeah,
that's,
and they-
let's not even go there. I'm not.
They give you 2x of your operating money. 2/3 of your operating money comes from the unincorporated area. This library would look like Hoodland were it not for the unincorporated money.
I'm not saying, but they also use it a lot. I mean.
And lets you have an election you couldn't have. It lets you have hours you couldn't have. It lets you have staff you couldn't have. It's not, no burden.
The fact of the matter is that the reason that Hoodland doesn't have what it doesn't have as much as it maybe should is because it's not incorporated. And so that's my point, is that the city of Sandy is able to kind of provide that organization and government to provide those. I'm not saying that we're.
I hear that, and my understanding is also that in other locations throughout the course of district being made, et cetera, and I understand that there was lawsuits and other things involved, but there were other substantial financial investments. in Other cities that came from the county. So it's not just a question of the city of Sandy, it's the
Right.
broader county perspective.
Sandy shouldn't have to pay for that building up in Woodland
No.
at all. They,
No.
I know they don't, but but the
For
county
example,
should.
okay, but for example, a lot of people up there come down and use ours because the limited hours. So, but they don't pay for it. And I'm not, let's not go there. I don't want, because, we're not,
Thank you.
I'm not, into that. I'm not, but, but what I am into, here's my kind of important messages. Several things. One of the things I've kind of just been looking at, and a lot of it is just due to some of the stuff you put together. I really appreciate, Kathleen. But when we talk about all these LDAC amendments, one of the things that really is a glaring omission in my issue, I guess, is that the unincorporated areas all across the district are vary between, first of all, it's based on population, which screws us with the Hoodland Library because they lost 10 people in their last census because of all the shocking number of Airbnb, short-term rentals and second homes. So we're actually losing money from Hoodland because compared to what the increased costs are over 10-year period, and may continue, I don't know. So, but the per person amount of money on all the unincorporated areas varies between $55 and 9 cents and like 50, it varies by 30 cents, $55 and some, 60 cents and 30 cents or something like that. So it varies by 30 cents. The cities, I used your forms, huh?
Doesn't, it's 55.37.
Well, some are 39, some are 59.
That's a rounding error. It's
Okay, well, whatever.
a rounding error.
That's fine.
30 cents.
Let me finish. My point is that the unincorporated areas all get $55. The cities, okay, and so what what they do for the cities is they base it on property value. And so, for example, Lake Oswego is getting like $87 per person. And, and the average of what Lake Oswego, Westland, Happy Valley, and whoever the other,
Wilsonville.
Wilsonville.
Happy Valley's not in that group, but
Okay, anyways, the top four are getting an average of $65 and something. And the bottom four, which Malala is the lowest at $29, Sandy's the second lowest at $33. There's a $34 and a $35 one. Estacade is not in there, but it can be maybe in Oregon City, I think. So the four lowest average about $34 or something like that, $35. And so my point is that here you've got, the wealthier cities are getting, almost twice as much per person as the poorest. And the poorest cities, or that have the lowest mean annual income, obviously, and they're the people that need the libraries the most and probably use the libraries the most because the need. And so that whole, I don't quite understand why the cities have that, I call it an equity issue if we want to get, it's an equity issue, but it's also, it's kind of the have and have nots. And it's such a big disparity that would, and of course, I'm sure all those rich cities, that's their property taxes and, they should be able to keep them and you see the same kind of issue with school districts where the richer schools in Lake Oswego, all that stuff. And I get that argument, but I also get that this is a county library district and having that kind of a disparity. My suggestion for the LDAC would be to, and I don't even know if we want to go there because of all the stuff that's, been going on with all this, but if we're going to open it up, that's what I'm going to is that basically have some sort of a mean annual income correction factor on the cities to kind of just, blunt that disparity a little bit.
I'd love to hear about that, Sarah, if there are other examples nationally because I love that message that I think it rallies us more as a team. Like if there are other examples nationally that have implemented something different than that inequity you just described, so then we all think that's right. Powerful.
Because, that whole equity thing is, of course, in Clackamas County,
in 2009, nobody was talking about equity, right?
Right.
It wasn't even on the table. And that's when the library district was created.
It just had to do with more.
Right. And the goal of the county administration and the library administration was to try to make each city be on board with this. And so giving them back all of their property value was the way to do that, right?
But they're the ones that are using it for facilities money because they have so much extra money.
Right.
They're able to bank some for the.
Well, Westland, Wilsonville, and Lake Oswego have not used any of the money for facilities money.
I see.
Yeah.
Actually, only 2 libraries.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so there's that, that's one approach to kind of if we move forward on this. But the other thing that's kind of been troubling me is, and I'm just going to say this, so just, I apologize to anybody who I offend. But I don't mean but, because I do apologize. I don't want to offend anybody. And it's been a little bit awkward as a city councilor because I feel I'm used to having government to government discussions, and what's happened, your role as an advisory board member is to advise Sarah and the city council. And what's been happening that has been kind of confusing for everybody is that y'all have kind of taken the reins and kind of run with it, and you're inviting the commissioners and you're going to these meetings and presenting stuff and all that. And I feel like that hasn't helped us. It hasn't hurt us necessarily, but I just feel like it looks weird when supposedly Sandy or Woodland is asking for that, but we don't have the city staff there. We don't have, the mayor there or whoever. That's not a government to government thing. It's kind of like a public thing. And so I just feel like we need to kind of get on the same page and kind of, roles and responsibilities and y'all have a huge role to play in helping support all that and testifying and all that stuff. So what you've done is great. I just feel like there has been a lot of confusion, as we know, because what happens with this whole facility thing, some of the cities have one of the things to get around all this business about not being able to use the capital, some of the district money for capital stuff is they can start charging rent. Just like, we have to pay. And so that would take.
But they haven't.
They haven't, but
They're paying for the loans out of the district funds. I mean,
but.
the libraries that have been.
Yeah, they've talked about using charging the district rent.
The idea has come up, but it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened, right? But that was their kind of workaround about like, well, if we can't legally do this, then we can legally do it if we charge them rent and then bank that money as a city to then plow back into hopefully a library facilities, need if the air conditioning HVAC goes out or
I
something.
mean, I would hope the rest of the community would rise up and be like, you're not charging Public Works rent, you're not charging the community center rent. You need to charge everybody rent if you're going to charge the library rent, right?
Well,
Mhm.
the other thing that kind of comes to play though is that all the other cities pretty much were supporting this use of if they wanted to use their district money for facility needs and they could do that, all the other cities were saying yes.
Of course. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I mean, you open the barn door, why wouldn't they walk in? I mean, to be fair to them.
Okay.
Kathleen.
Okay.
I mean,
The thing that's frustrating to me is there's this kind of total distrust of the cities and what they're doing with the libraries. Let me finish. What they're doing with the libraries is they're trying to expand the libraries, improve the libraries and whatever. And so as a city person, I think that's great. If they get this much money and and they can operate and provide all those services for this much and use 20% of whatever to, I don't know, do whatever, add a wing or whatever, I'm okay with that if that's what they want to do with their money. But I also feel like I didn't understand the issues well enough. But I was disappointed to see that our LDAC member voted no on that proposal because I believe that the city council position on that is yes. And the position of the LDAC is supposed to be representing the city council.
Well, the position of LDAC is representing the citizen. It's a citizen advisory committee.
Okay.
and that's one of the issues
No.
that we have right now.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm reading out of your hand. Okay, the advisory board, the role of the advisory board is to advise the city council and you.
Right, but LDAC's role, and this is a problem with the district. LDAC's role is to advise the county commissioners based on their library board's decision.
Okay, well, everybody on there, everybody on that LDAC is on an advisory board. Is that right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's my point is that I don't,
And our LDAC representative voted based on the library boards.
again, but
And it's a problem with how the district is
It's
set
a
up.
problem with the-
well, that's fine. I mean, we also have the ability to appoint an LDAC representative.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm saying is that I want to make sure that our LDAC representative is representing the city council, because the city council is the one that kind of, you know,
And I want the city council to represent my unincorporated interests as
well,
well.
you do. You
And I
have 4 members. You have a majority
But
vote.
you just dissed what the library board voted. So effectively, there isn't a voice.
You know, like I said, you and I aren't going to see eye to eye in this. You guys have the unincorporated population has a majority vote on this advisory board. So you are very well heard. You were on the LDAC committee for years. So you, and you didn't ever come to the city council and say, hey, they're talking about this. What do you think? It just didn't happen.
No one asked me to.
Well-
No one ever invited me. No one ever said to me,
Yeah.
would you please come report? I reported to my library advisory board every time. I gave extensive.
I know.
documentation.
Kathleen, you worked so hard. I'm
did.
not, you did. And I so appreciate all the work that you've done.
Thank you.
But that doesn't mean that we always agree. And it's
I agree.
okay to disagree.
It
Be
is.
respectful and respectful of the work that each of us have done.
But I was never asked, ever, by city council. And the few times we did go to city council, I answered every question. The problem is we've got 2 train tracks running.
Yep.
Okay,
And I will agree with you totally. That one of the problems is that LDAC within the library district is a beast that doesn't make sense. We were given this authority, we were given this obligation that the BCC doesn't want to enforce.
Yep.
It has, LDAC itself has no enforcement authority. This is one of the things that has to be fixed.
right. And I think that, you know, from what I see is that all the cities want this and I can't figure out why, you know, I don't know who, you know, I have a friend on the Gladstone City Council. I'm going to be asking her about it, but I think it's important that, you know, we do have a workshop because we need to kind of, and there's a lot of confusion even with the board members here, I think, the advisory board about, you know, what happens if the HVAC breaks and, you know, and it has to be replaced and things like that. So I think there's, you know, like if the, well, I don't know. I just think that, like I said, what I was saying before was that, you know, this whole idea, like you're wanting to go out for a new, you know, thing, there has to be, we have to be on the same page. The city council and the advisory board. You don't have to agree, but in the IGAs and, it clearly says that the cities are the ones that have the responsibility for managing these libraries. And they are, you know, the intent there is to have representation from both incorporated and unincorporated areas on their advisory board. Okay, so that's, I think it's just kind of everybody getting on the same page about whose roles and responsibilities.
But then the city council needs to take into account those unincorporated residents and their thoughts about how the library district needs to move forward. And frankly, that hasn't happened either.
I disagree. I find that almost insulting. We just gave you $150,000 for a bookmobile to go all over heck and half acre. I'm sorry, that's huge. It's insulting, really, because it's like, hey,
It's gonna be in the city limits as much as it's gonna be outside.
hopefully, yeah, but it's also gonna be, you know, the need is out further out because
Well, the need is everywhere. It's,
I support that.
the schools have a huge need and they're very excited for us to go and a lot of the schools are within the city limits.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't want this to evolve into an argument. I think we need to end the discussion if we can.
Yeah.
The city, I mean, this city council here is all about helping out everybody in this whole community and in this whole district. And to be told that just because we have a disagreement, that I'm not listening or I'm not voting the way you think I should vote is not really, you know.
Well,
It's not,
From what I hear from unincorporated residents is that the city is not interested in listening to them because they're focused on city residents, which makes sense. It's a city council for the city of Sandy. And that is your priority, is the city.
okay, so why am I working on a Parks and Rec district? We provide senior services and.
I know. I'm just saying those are things that I hear from unincorporated residents.
And I'm the first one to say, hey, you know, you get all this stuff and we're trying to provide this for everybody. So it's just not helpful, you know? I'm all about everybody in the community. We're all part of the community. So I thank you. Like I said, I apologize for any offended feelings, but I do feel pretty strongly about that we need to be, that the role, that we need to kind of review roles and responsibilities
Right.
at the next meeting. Because I think it's important that we all have an opportunity to discuss it.
And I think in closing this part of the discussion, I think it's very important that the city of Sandy City Council, indeed, because they are part of the library district, it's very important for them to know and learn more about how it all works. So that's my big pitch is if something needs to be workshopped so that they're understanding, the counselors are understanding how we function, what we're looking at and the issues that we're facing, yes, involve the city and governance, that needs to happen because ignorance isn't going to get us on that same track or on the same page.
I'm very I mean, I understand it all, but it's taken days and
It's-
days.
It's a lot,
It's
which
a
is
lot.
why it was proposed to workshop it. Yeah, because it's confusing, it's broad,
Yeah.
it's deep, and it's a lot of history.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
stuff too.
The workshop part you guys were pushing for was that petition.
Well,
It was
yeah,
also-
yeah, but it was,
That's-
but in that,
Gotta
but in-
know from.
but in talking about that issue, it would be a lot of history about the district and so on, just to get that fleshed out picture. So,
But that's, the no was for the petition. It wasn't for, let's not have a workshop and explain how all this works.
the workshop was noted. Yeah, they declined.
Okay, again. But the workshop was because what we understood that you wanted a workshop about was taking the lead on a petition. Having the city of Sandy be the lead on a petition. So
Well-
that's what we said no to.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue the point, but,
Maybe we did, yeah.
the,
Yeah.
we've got a few minutes for staff updates.
I already did a huge staff update about
Yeah.
the bookmobile, so
Okay.
we discussed it
Anything that we
thoroughly.
need to add into that?
I don't
Anything? Okay. All right. Any other business anyone needs to bring up? Or old business? Or, okay. So I'll take a motion that we adjourn the meeting and next meeting will be September. September 4th, Wednesday, the 4th.
Sorry. I'm gonna be out of the country.
Gotcha. Oh, good for you.
Going.
Alaska. Okay, technically that's in country, but I'll be out.
She'll be early. So it'll be Wednesday, September 4th at 6. And motion to, we don't even need to, we're just gonna adjourn the meeting.
There you go. Good.
At 7:27.
Okay.
So.
I see that has been